Okay, this story might be a bit longer. I might refer to my notes a bit. There's just a lot of things I want to double underline and not forget or miss about this particular journey. And so it's kind of exciting to share. Mushrooms are crazy, man. I mean, they are crazy. Maybe by the end of this story, if you haven't already. And I just expect my audience to be people interested in these stories, interested about mushrooms, maybe have had experiences themselves, or enjoy the entertainment of listening to the stories. So that's who I expect is listening. So as always, you know, the ingestion of the mushrooms at the beginning I always find quite hard. It's like trying to eat dry cardboard or something. But I've tried different methods and experiments with that. You kind of just swallow them like pills, I find works best in the end. And there's always a bit of fear and kind of unsettlingness. Just that first 30 to 60 minutes while the trip is at the verge of beginning. But you know what I found, what I had done in my history, I actually grew my own mushrooms. And I find this to be quite educational and fun, and it's tricky, but there's plenty of resources online to do it. But in the process of doing that, of growing your own, and just listening to podcasts and whatnot, and learning and reading, you learn to develop a real profound sense of trust with the process. And that is extremely helpful. Just learning to trust the process. It really comes in crucially helpful during mushroom trips. There's this sort of deep peace of mind, even in the midst of harrowing experience, that sort of carries you. And another thing I thought about with these mushroom experiences, you know, it's common in culture, in certain circles, to people talk about out-of-body and experience, an out-of-body experience. And it comes up in different cultures. Often it's religious cultures, thinking about life after death or whatnot, people having these out-of-body experiences. What mushrooms do, or I've experienced numerous times, it's not out-of-body experience, it's out-of-mind experience. It's an out-of-mind experience. And so, you know, it's just an analogy, just take it a step further, you know, thinking this body is temporary, but there's believing there's some it behind that endures. Well, an out-of-mind experience is even relieving, or relieving you of this illusion. There is no it anywhere. The mind, the self itself, it's an out-of-self experience. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything at all, but I'm just trying to explain the story and a little bit more. So the beginning of this trip, I wanted to mention dosages. So far I've taken between 3 and 7 grams, I think. 3 grams is enough. If you have moderately fresh, preserved, dried mushrooms, 3 grams is a high dose. In my learning, I don't always know. I've stored them off in the freezer. I don't always know the half-life, you know, whether they can be stored for years and years. I think they can, as long as they're sealed and kept dry. But I've always experimented with higher doses. So all these trips so far have been between 3 and 7 grams. And I think this one was 9, I think. So like kind of out there. And this began again with much laughter, this trip. We had, my very first trip was a lot of laughter. And this one also It's just a lot of laughing. But this out-of-mind experience with the laughter this time, it's kind of like there is awareness. So you're out of body, but then also you leave mind behind. There is no Steve, there's no self, there's no soul, there's no ego. It's just a pure awareness behind it all. And within this space, there was an awareness. Here is a mammal laughing. Here is a mammal laughing hard, and their abs are sore, and they've been laughing for a long time. And I remember distinctly that memory. And I couldn't actually hear laughing, and I couldn't actually feel the body, but I knew that there's this body laughing. And I found that kind of interesting, that kind of awareness. But this story was not really about the laughter. So as part of the preparation for this, I have this picture of my children when they were young. I have 3 children. And we have this picture of them, and I brought it and I set it up with me as kind of a guide, a totem, something to be with me, something to kind of trigger sort of peace of mind or whatnot. And so I had this picture with me. And the bulk of this mushroom experience was me searching the multiverse for my children. And so this picture was very comfort to me. I would be lost, I'd be traveling the universes, and I'd always be able to come back, and some sort of awareness would come back, and I'd look at this picture and, yes, my children are here. This is the universe. And just kind of this very comforting trust knowing that this was here. And I would just every so often look over and see it. And then there was this one time, mushrooms, man, they're crazy. I looked over to where the picture was supposed to be, and it wasn't there. It wasn't there. Wow, this was kind of startling for me. Okay, I thought, I just am not in the universe where my children exist. That's not this universe. And I found that very startling and interesting, but I also trusted. It's kind of like, okay, this is okay. I will just wander the universes and look for them further. But it was kind of a jolt of an experience. And I just need to double underline the time component here. It's hard to express just how much time you experience. It's just not a few minutes. These are eons of time. And it's hard to describe. But I would have these eons of time, and then I would come back, and I'd kind of just be brought back to the room, and my glance would look over where the picture is. Is the picture there? Is this the universe? No. Nope. And then I would be lost again, wandering and searching the universes, living lives, and then some eon of time would pass, and I would come and I would look, okay, now, is this the end? Is this the universe they're in? And I'd look, nope, the picture was not there. And so here was the beginning again of this lesson of acceptance. I described this earlier in that dark trip I had, just the depths. It's just astounding, the depths of what acceptance can go. And I think that the one thing to understand it, as we normally talk about this word acceptance, it's sort of a transaction, or there is a someone trying to resolve something with someone else or with reality. And the depths of this acceptance, it just keeps passing through this illusion of someone down into a deeper and deeper awareness. And so any atom, any inkling of a self trying to negotiate or lever reality just kept getting blown away, blown away, blown away. And so eons of time, and just deeper and deeper acceptance. And coming back again, is this the universe with that picture of my children? No. And so you can imagine after a long time, just again, I think I've described this in a previous trip, some tremendously long amount of time passes and your memory starts to fade. The threads of that past life begin to grow thinner. Imagine it not being 100 years or 1,000 years. This memory of this picture, this memory of my children, whatever tendril is there, even though emotionally strong, connecting me to that, it's growing thinner and thinner and fainter and fainter to the point that, even doubt is starting to creep in at this point. And, you keep coming back. It's just this more thin tendril. Is this universe that I used to know? No, it isn't. And there came even a point where often I would get this kind of memory to look at this picture, but there was a knowing that kind of knew, no, I'm not in that universe. I'm not in that universe. It was like an eon would pass and I'd come back and there'd be some awareness. Hey, do you want to check and see if this is the universe where your children? No, I'm not even going to check. I know it's not there. I know that's not this universe. And then it shifted. This is where one of the shifts happened. I went to this one place, this one knowing, and I saw this world. I saw this universe. And it was more, like those movie sets in movies where they have old Western towns, but it's just all facades, and behind it is nothing. And that's what this universe appeared to be to me. I went and I inhabited this, and I looked around and I searched, and everything was a facade. Everything. All the people I knew, all these experiences I thought I remember as Steve, it was all a facade. It was all a facade. And this struck me deeply and truthfully. It was kind of like I was going through some sort of healing process to come to terms with some illusion that this universe was real, that this universe of Steve with his children was real. And this was kind of this long, patient treatment for some sort of awareness to dawn that, no, none of that was real. And so I came to believe, in fact, that my children did not exist. That it was just some, I don't know, something. And the level of acceptance, this is a level of something. Acceptance is a poor word again. I need a different word, but the depth of this kind of acceptance in being faced with this reality, accepting, okay, my children are not real. This is a fantasy. And it's just kind of like this step down. And then I looked over again where the picture was. And guess what? It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. Wow. And so this even deeper level of acceptance dawned, and then the whole experience shifted again. No longer was I on this journey so much looking for my children anymore. It was like I was sinking deeper and deeper into this cosmic awareness, this cosmic consciousness. And I began giving birth to new universes themselves. And so I began giving birth to these universes, and I would experience them. You know how old our universe is, 13 billion years. I would experience them. I would experience all what it was like to be that. And so the whole situation shifted from someone trying to do something to just pure experiencing itself, pure experiencing. And so I would give birth to this universe, and I would just be experiencing all that that universe would have to offer. And it would just go on. And then when that universe came to an end, another universe would come into being. And there's this scene, there's this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Not sure if you've seen it. But there's this scene, and I can't exactly remember what it is, but there's these two boulders or rocks kind of sitting on this cliff or mountain. And that's just struck true to me, because, you know, through this experience, I learned what it was to be a stone sitting on a mountain for 1,000,000 years, watching the mountain rise up, watching it fall down, and just having that experience. You know, there's more experiences than just the human experience. There's the experience of being a mountain. And I just remember that scene in that movie just really triggered this memory for me. And so the whole experience shifted. There was still every so often, randomly, after eons, I would come back to sort of the mattress and the room, and not with any sort of urgency anymore or convinced it was true. I would glance over and look, and the picture was not there, of course, like it shouldn't be. And on it went, on it went. And so this experience continued without agenda. There was no agenda reaching for what was good, no agenda pushing away what was painful, just pure experiencing the iterations of all these different kinds of universes and what they were. And then I remember this one time just sitting, leaning up against the wall by the sill, and just this profound peace, and just this profound, again, acceptance is not the word, just feeling the sun, listening to the birds, and just such a profound calm. You know, it was out of time. It was an experience out of time. No, there's the word rushing or urgency makes no sense here. It was out of time. And just feeling everything so viscerally, sitting there in the warmth of the sun. And I remember that. And I looked over once more, as I had done infinite times before, just looked over to that place by the mattress. And you know what? The picture was there. I'm getting goosebumps again. Even telling these stories is kind of emotional. I'm getting goosebumps. The picture was there. Imagine such, I don't even know if I'm telling it very well. The picture was there. I had returned. Imagine going through such a catharsis of acceptance and then being given back. Let me tell you, mushrooms are bananas, man. What a crazy thing. I can't underline any part of this enough to try to bring some explanation to it. And so what do I take from all this? I feel very much more transparent now. Very, very much more transparent. This out-of-mind experience. I feel very much more empathetic. First with myself, with this small mammal Steve, who's still going about his things, paying the bills, working, doing the dishes, making supper. Very empathetic to all those things. Feeling pain, feeling joy, and feeling free. Free to laugh when it's appropriate, free to cry, free to mourn, and then when laughter comes again, free to laugh. No constraints, feeling free. And of course, I feel much joy just thinking about my children and talking to them, writing them, giving them big hugs. What a gift. What a gift.